Hello friends, my name is Rajni. I'm one of the OET trainers at Medcity International Academy, Kottayam. Today I'm going to explain about writing module for nurses. Candidates are often confused about how to select relevant case notes for their writing exam. And it is really essential for you to select relevant case notes in order to get a B grade. As you all know, there are three kinds of points or say case notes given to you. One is completely relevant. Second one is completely irrelevant. Third one, partially relevant or say optional. In this video, I will try to explain two things. Number one, how to read a question for OET writing module. And number two, how to select relevant case notes.
I would try to explain with the help of a question paper. What you see right now on the screen is an OET question paper for nurses. It is quite similar to a patient's discharge summary with the patient's details including medical history, social history, background information, current medication, etc. When a question paper is given to you, always read the task first. Towards the end of your question paper, you will see a title, Writing Task. You must read the writing task first to identify three things. Number one, whom you are writing. Number two, why you are writing. Number three, whether it is a non-case or not. So let's read this task together. The Queensland Eye Hospital provides day surgery only and does not provide overnight care. Patients who need nursing care overnight are sent to a post-operative care residence. Using the information in the case notes, write a letter to the registered nurse at the post-operative care residence explaining Mr. Hutton's condition and the care he will require. So you are writing to a registered nurse at a post-operative care residence for overnight care, and it is not given as if this registered nurse knows your patient, so this is not a non-case. So you know the three things now, right? You are writing to a registered nurse for overnight care, and this is not a non-case. Now we are going to read the case notes from the beginning to select relevant points. For your better understanding, I would put a tick mark for completely relevant points, a circle for partially relevant points, and a cross like this for completely irrelevant points. Okay? So the first point given here in this question is today's date, 10th June 2010. Definitely, we are going to put a date while writing the letter, and if a today's date is given to you, that is what you are going to put in your letter. So yes, this is relevant. You are a registered nurse at the Queensland Eye Hospital and you're responsible for the care of Mr. James Hutton following the operation he had today, right corneal graft. After reading this, we understood our designation, registered nurse. The hospital where you're working, Queensland Eye Hospital, the name of your patient, Mr. James Hutton, and the surgery your patient underwent, right corneal graft. Okay? We'll read further. Name, James Hutton. Now, we have already selected this point, the name of our patient, right? Being a nurse, we are going to write about our patient, so yes, it is relevant. We'll read along. Address, Lilyvale, Megalala, Queensland 4461, and they have given a phone number 0745678910. Now, while you are selecting case notes, you have to think from the perspective of whom you are going to write, okay? In this question, you are writing to a registered nurse for overnight care. Does that nurse needs to know the patient's address and phone number so as to provide care? Not necessarily, right? So this is not a relevant point. We'll read further, okay? Gender, male. See, you do not have to specify the gender of your patient in your letter format. So no, this point is irrelevant. Read along. Medical history. Blind in left eye following corneal tear in 2001, corneal graft to right eye in 2004, cornea in right eye is now distorted and needs replacement, hypertension diagnosed 2003. Think you are writing to a nurse for overnight care. If the patient has no vision in his left eye, of course the nurse who is looking after him should be aware of it, right? So that makes it a relevant point. What about corneal graft in 2004? Probably yes, because the operation he underwent today is the same, right corneal graft, right? The patient underwent right corneal graft in 2004, and due to the distortion of cornea, he has undergone the same surgery today. So this is the very reason behind the patient undergoing a surgery today, which has to be included in your letter. So that is a relevant point. What about hypertension? Nurse must know about his or her patient being hypertensive or diabetic or any other such comorbid conditions, right? So yes, that's relevant. Now, read along. Social history: marital status, widowed, next of kin William Hutton, son, employment, retired Gracia, religion, Church of England. For providing overnight nursing care, details like the patient's marital status, employment, and religion can be excluded because these have no particular role in the care needed for a patient from the nurse. Then again, if the letter was for providing hospice care, things would have been different. For hospice care, we would have included the religion, maybe considering the short period of time that the patient has and the religious needs of the patient, but not in every case. And about the next of kin, well, I would call it an optional point, same with marital status as well, which means you may or may not include these in your letter, provided you write in such a way that it does not stand out. Okay, now we will read the background information. Lives in separate accommodation with his son and his family on the family farm. Is generally independent despite navigational vision in his right eye and no sight in his left eye. Able to walk without assistance and assist with light work on farm. World War II veteran and has a gold card, which means his expenses for all healthcare and related transport are paid by the Department of Veterans Affairs or DVA. Now see, a nurse may not want to know about the patient's accommodation and what he does at home in order to provide care, so no to this. About the next point, we have already selected this. See, we are going to write about the patient being blind in left eye, and we have to write about the surgery to his right eye, so no need to write the same point again. Now, the third point here says something about what the patient can do by himself or say without any help. While you're writing to a nurse, you should focus on what the nurse should know about this patient. Give importance to the problems or abnormalities rather than the normal things. Here, the patient can walk without help, so no need to include this point in your letter. If it was given that the patient needs assistance to walk, then obviously we would have counted it in. Okay? What about the last point here? Well, not completely, but since it talks about covering medical and transport expenses, maybe we can include it in our letter. Not in detail though, but yes, that can be counted as a relevant point. Now, please read the current medications. Atacant 4 mg main, Lipex 10 mg nocte, chloromazidine eye drops 1 drop in right eye QID, prednisolone 4 eye drops 1 drop in right eye QID. Shake well before use and give 1 to 2 minutes after chloromazidine. Tanopt eye drops 1 drop to left eye only BID. Panadol 1 gram PRN, maximum 4 grams per day. All the medicines given here are relevant, including the dose, frequency, and method of administration, because we are writing to a nurse for overnight care. A nurse must know in detail about all the medicines prescribed for his or her patient, so yes to all the details in this. Now we will read the nursing care needs now. Mr. Hutton was given sedation and a local anesthetic to his right eye. The local anesthetic was a full block and he will not be able to open the right eye for several hours. He will be totally without sight until this occurs and should then have restricted vision. A clear eye shield must remain on his right eye at night to protect from knocks with sleeping. He will need assistance with mobility, showering, and dressing. Dark glasses have been provided by eye hospital to cut down glare when outdoors if needed. Mr. Hutton has an appointment with his eye surgeon at 11 a.m. tomorrow. He should be ready for discharge by 10 a.m. when a carer will transport and assist him to the doctor's surgery. Now, we wouldn't have selected the first point about anesthesia during surgery if it weren't for the next two sentences given here. See, the local anesthetic was a full block and he will not be able to open the right eye for several hours. He will be totally without sight until this occurs and should then have restricted vision. So, the effect of anesthesia is going to affect the patient for another several hours. He would not be able to open his right eye for another several hours, right? So, the nurse who is looking after this patient must know about this, the reason behind the patient being not able to open his eyes, right eye. So that is a reason we have to say to include this point here. Okay, now about clear eye shield and assistance, this is something which should be provided by the nurse, right?
So only if we tell the nurse, he or she can provide the patient with this. So yes to the next 2 points. Now about the dark glasses to prevent auto glare, we would have excluded this point because we are writing to a nurse for overnight care. One do not have to worry about auto glare during night time, right? But when we read the next 2 points, we may disagree. See, Mr. Hutton has an appointment with his eye surgeon at 11 a.m. tomorrow. He should be ready for discharge by 10 a.m. and a carer will transport and assist him to the doctor's surgery. So the patient has to be shifted back by 10 a.m. the very next day, which means he is going to be exposed to outdoor glare while being transferred, right? And because of this, we have to write about dark glasses. Okay, so these 3 points are relevant. Now we have selected the case notes and we read each case note and correlated it with whom and why we are writing to decide its relevance. That's how you have to do it. For your OET writing examination, you can follow the same method. Think from the perspective of whom we are writing. If it is a nurse that you are writing to, think as if you are a nurse. If it is a physiotherapist, think what a physiotherapist must know from your letter. Okay? So I hope this video was helpful. Please try this method for selecting relevant case notes. Thank you.